bargain! Sue, we agreed you wouldn't do that anymore.
Months after making their rounds on the big screen, the Fantastic Four: First Steps was finally released on the OTT platforms last month. Given that this was one of the shortest MCU films to date, with a runtime of just 1 hour and 55 minutes, there was a lot of footage left on the cutting room floor. The original plan for the movie was initially to include a few very cool cameos alongside many moments among the superhero team, which were unfortunately put in the deleted scene bucket. They basically didn't want to make the film into a rampant origin story movie, but also wanted to give us an idea of who these characters really are, and how they are perceived by the world around them. Now, the good thing is that the OTT version of the film was released while retaining most of these scenes. Apparently, the director Matt Shakman had intentionally shot a lot of extra scenes that they ended up using, which in my opinion was not a very good idea, as these scenes actually added more meat to the film's plot and made it quite a bearable watch. Set in the 1960s, First Steps places Marvel's first family against the backdrop of the space race, and also stays faithful to the Silver Age era of the comics. Having said that, let's discuss every deleted scene that Matt Shakman had initially decided to chop out of the Fantastic Four: First Steps. Before we get into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
Ooh, are you alright?
The Subterranea scene with Invisible Woman and Mole Man. So in a previously unseen moment set in Subterranea, was one of the first deleted scenes to be released online. The deleted scene starts off with Sue Storm, aka Invisible Woman, heading down to Subterranea, which is an underground world run by Mole Man. She turns invisible as she walks past all the miners working in the city, and then approaches Mole Man. A startled Mole Man says how they had agreed on Sue never going incognito mode on them ever again, before she revealed herself at his desk. When she counters him by reminding Mole Man how he had agreed on not threatening to revolt every time, he goes on to complain of burst sewer pipes and people living in excrement under Staten Island, and says he could simply get people to rise up against the Fantastic Four. Sue then calmly replies that Johnny could as easily burn everyone alive, and she could put a force field inside Mole Man's brain to give him an aneurysm. Soon they get further into an argument before Sue feels her baby, Franklin, moving in her stomach, just when she chooses to use a cuss word. Then it turns out his issue is that none of his people have been enlisted to help fix the pipes, and so Sue agrees to get his best workers on the case. In fact, Sue even sorta kicks back and has a drink with him. Well, she couldn't have a real drink because she was pregnant, but he poured her water, and she wished it was whiskey. That whole scene just represented Sue's working life and the fact that she interacted with all these supervillains in a way that reflected how emotionally in tune she was with them.
Does that snazzy birthday sweater help you prep faster?
The heartfelt birthday sweater scene. So this deleted scene shows a heart-touching moment between Sue Storm and the Thing, with Sue complimenting Ben's green sweater. Occurring toward the beginning of the movie, this deleted scene finds Sue still pregnant, chatting with Ben before liftoff of their spaceship, the Excelsior. And mind you, this is way before Franklin is even born, and before the heroes face Galactus. Anyway, Ben is rocking his birthday sweater, which Sue gives him a little bit of grief about. The clip also features Ben working on the team's rocket ship, but since it didn't make it into the final cut, the Thing and Herbie's designs in the deleted scene are noticeably incomplete. Anyway, Ben takes a break from working on the Excelsior, and that's because he is probably going to see Rachel Rosman, Natasha Lyonne's character. In my opinion, this deleted scene adds a nice little layer to Ben and Sue's friendship, but also another nod to his crush on Rachel.
Oh, it's your turn to sleep.
Can't.
The scene where Reed and Sue take turns with Franklin. So the deleted scene titled Taking Turns opens with baby Franklin crying at the dead of night, while Mr. Fantastic, aka Reed, is trying to calm him down softly. But when Franklin begins to cry even more loudly, Sue Storm wakes up and takes the baby in her arms, wondering if he's gotten hungry. When Reed mentions Franklin's always hungry, Sue sits down to breastfeed him and asks her husband to go to sleep, as he couldn't stop yawning. After she mentions how their world needs the smartest man in the world tomorrow, Reed walks over to her, kisses her forehead, and goes off to sleep. The scene fades as Sue rocks on the chair while holding Franklin and then goes invisible. So all we see at the end is the chair rocking. Honestly, I think this scene should have been included in the movie, as it was the perfect way to show the kind of wonderful parents that both Reed and Sue were, even at the face of exhausting chaos approaching them. The Thanksgiving soup kitchen scene. Well, there's not much here, but this blink and you miss it scene basically just shows things serving at a soup kitchen during Thanksgiving. While we don't know much of anything, we do get to see Ben's overall nature as a do-gooder just by this scene, because a well-established superhero volunteering at a soup kitchen during Thanksgiving is not something you hear about very often. Red Ghost had a huge role in the movie before being cut out. So in the comics, the Red Ghost was a Soviet scientist who deliberately exposed himself and his apes to cosmic rays, hoping to replicate the Fantastic Four's powers. In First Steps, the role was set to be played by brilliant John Malkovich. Originally, the character was supposed to appear in the film's opening montage in a particular sequence meant to make this universe feel rich and lived in. We even hear his name mentioned early on in the film, as the news reporters document it and briefly see Reed fighting one of his apes on a launch pad, which now makes sense after learning what was cut. According to director Matt Shakman, that missing scene actually involved Red Ghost and his superpowered apes trying to steal a rocket. If you look closely at the end credits, there's even a nod to that moment with an image of an ape stretching Reed's face, which Shakman confirmed was a direct homage to the comic book artist Alex Ross. He also called Malkovich one of his favorite actors and people to work with, though he ultimately stands by the decision to remove the sequence for pacing reasons. Interestingly, Red Ghost was not just meant to appear in the opening, but he originally had two major scenes. One was the rocket heist, and a latter one where he would have been the villain responsible for destroying the teleportation bridges. Unfortunately, both moments were cut out of the film, leaving only traces of his presence scattered throughout. When asked about this, Shakman said how they had a very different idea of how those bridges could go away early on, and then when they were putting the film together, it just made more sense to have the surfer come back, as it would help the people stay connected with the antagonist that they knew and were spending the most time with. But at least we got to see the Red Ghost and post-credit scene. I mean, kind of. Also, losing the Red Ghost meant that they would lose the whole idea of the American-Soviet space race, but maybe that would have been tied too closely to the idea of the Future Foundation uniting all the world's governments to disarm. Whatever it may be, it's honestly sad that Malkovich's brilliance had to be cut out of the film as it didn't fit the plot. There was a deleted scene of Ben Grimm shaving his rocky beard. So in this deleted scene from the Fantastic Four First Steps, which is also part of the film's digital and Blu-ray rollout, we see Ben Grimm, also known as the Thing, as he prepares for a television appearance by shaving his rocky beard with a power sander-like tool. The moment is both humorous and grounded. It shows the team backstage as they get ready for the fictional Ted Gilbert show, which is undoubtedly a nod to the Ed Sullivan show. This scene was apparently on Fantastic Four Day, as our four heroes were gearing up to appear on the talk show, with Johnny flirting with the makeup girl backstage, and the other Fantastic Four members warning her about him. It then shows a little more from that talk show sequence, with the host explaining how the day will be celebrated as Fantastic Four Day. The scene ends with the talk show going on air, as the four superheroes are introduced to the audience and the crowd cheers for them. The dating show scene with Thing was also cut out. So this scene shows a 60s inspired TV matchmaking show titled Let's Make a Match, with a giddy young woman dressed in pink, picking one of three potential suitors for a relationship. After she picks the third contestant, the camera pans to the right of the stage to reveal two contestants sitting next to a dark outline of Moss Backrack's Ben Grimm in full form as the Thing. When the lights come up to show Ben, he takes a minute to realize that the woman picked him, and then with a shocked look on his face, he joins her and waves to the crowd. Given that it was not seen in the final cut of the movie, a version of this scene was actually used in an earlier trailer for the Fantastic Four, which was released exclusively at San Diego Comic-Con 2024. But the footage cut away before Ben was revealed in the light, although it's unclear if the footage was ever meant to be used in the film upon its release, because honestly it feels like it doesn't fit in with the version of Ben that we see in the final cut of the movie. Well, that was all the deleted scenes cut out of Fantastic Four First Steps, at least the ones I could get my hands on. After seeing the moments that were left on the cutting room floor, I really think this film had so much potential with its cast and a new world setting. Somehow it feels like a missed opportunity to have so much material yet miss out on adding layers to the film's protagonists, thus resulting in a boiled chicken version of what could have been. Having said that, the deleted scenes do make it slightly better, but that's really just my 2 cents. What do you guys think about these deleted scenes? Let us know your thoughts and opinions in the comment box below. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.